So hello everybody and welcome to Project Manager Training. My name is Catherine and I work at Enactus Canada. I am a program manager for some of the teams in Central Canada, and we are so excited to have Claymont and Mazdak back here today to lead us through some project manager training. So I won't take too much more time away from them, and I'll just hand everything right over. So go ahead.
Great, thank you so much, Catherine. Thank you everyone for being present and taking some time out of your busy day to attend this training. Before we jump in, just want to give a warning. This is not going to be your typical lecture or just sitting down and listen kind of workshop. This is going to be a hands-on interactive workshop. So if you say that's not what you signed up for, you can run away, but I recommend it. So today we really invite you, the energy you're going to give into the work and into the different activity is going to equal exactly what you're going to get out of it. So we invite you all to be more than open-hearted, being willing to try, to share, and to listen, and to be present for the others in the space too. And so on that, I'll introduce myself very quickly before we get to have introductions from everyone on the call. But my mission, I'm Clément Molinaroy, faculty advisor at Sherbrooke University. My mission in life is to empower as many change makers as possible. So people who both have the know-how and the will to create change in the world. And so that took me on some fascinating journey all around the world. I did some research projects, visited Stanford University to the University of Innovation in Tokyo and many other institutions in between, looking at how do you empower people to be change makers. And what I discovered is that first, a lot of people, you need to first spark their will to become change makers. But then I realized that there's so many people who want to create change, but just don't have the tools, the resource, or the know-how to do so. And so today the workshop is going to go exactly for that latter part. I believe all of you are part of Enactus because you want to lead positive change in your community. Well, today we're going to be talking about project management and a ton of tools, aspects, and mindsets and elements that will help you bring your projects to life and actually have an impact in your community. And I thought throughout my research that I had many cool tricks on project management, but then I saw Mazdak lead some project management workshop, and I realized that he was taking project management to next level. And so I'm extremely thrilled today to introduce you to Mazdak, who was also happy to join and contribute both his time and expertise in project management. So without further ado, Mazdak, I'll let yourself introduce yourself.
Well, thank you so much, Clément, for that warm welcome and introduction. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much, Catherine, for having us. So I am Mazdak, and my mission in life is to partner with young entrepreneurs so that we can co-create a positive impact for their business and to design a joyful for their lives. And a little bit about me. I come from a very technical background. I have a bachelor in electronic systems engineering. For master's, I did actually process engineering for software process, for IT engineering. And for most part of my adult life, I worked as a process engineer and a project manager in the IT firms. And I'm actually a project management professional, PMP. And while I was working with all these ideas of process and project management, one thing that really showed up were these ideas of human-centric type of project management and collaborative type of project management that we call agile type of project management. So I got really, really excited about that. I've become a certified Scrum Master, and I draw a lot from the notions of lean and agility in the work we do. What the learning was is that project management is cool, the processes are cool, the tools are cool, but at the end of the day, it's about the people. It's the human side of the project. Most of the most successful project managers are those who take those mindsets of customer-centric, human-centric, growth-centric, trial and error, risk-taking, getting the feedback from the clients and the team. And more importantly, what Clément mentioned, it's about empowering. It's about collaborating and empowering your team. So I'm very thrilled to be here with you, and thank you so much for being here with us. Just going quickly, the objectives for today's session. As any of our Enactus sessions, we would like for you guys to meet other people from other chapters and other groups and be able to network with them. So as Clément mentioned, there are going to be a lot of interactive activities for you to have the chance to meet as many people as possible. And we are here to, have some conversation and refine some of your project management skills. And since we have introduced ourselves, we would have loved to have all of you guys to introduce yourselves. But right now, I don't know, we are what? 75 people. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay. There's a lot of people, so we won't have a chance to go one by one. Why not get yourselves into breakout rooms, groups 2 by 2, and we will be broadcasting some ideas, some questions. Make sure both people in your two is able to speak. And on that note, I think, Clément, we can get people to the breakout rooms.
So we'll be sending you to respective rooms. You'll have a time to exchange on the given prompt. Just before I send them off for 3 minutes, Mazak, do you want to give them the first prompt?
Okay, I'll put that in the chat. Just 1 second.
And I'll read it out meanwhile.
Yeah, sure.
First question that we have for you is, what's the project that you're working on? Who is it for, and why are you doing that work? And so we'll be sending you out for your first exchange. Share the next prompt. Mazak, you're muted, my dear.
I think when I come back from a breakout room, I get automatically muted.
Everyone does.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so why not share a story about a time when you faced a challenge in terms of project management?
So I'm sending you out to a new room. You're having 3 minutes again to each share on that given prompt. Share about a time where you faced a challenge through project management. Good exchanges with their peer. So thanks for being open and thanks for sharing. On that, we're going to take you on another activity just so we can maybe take a step back at what we already know and see where everyone coming from today. In order to go ahead with this activity, we're going to show you a very cool tool that you may want to use with your respective team or to work on your respective project. Some of you might know it already. We use Miro, which is an online interactive whiteboard. So I'm just going to do a little screen share here and take you around the platform. There's other similar platforms like Mural and so, but one of the cool things with Miro is that if you look it up on Google and ask educational account, they offer free accounts for people who work within an educational institution. So if you can show that you're supported by your college, you can get access to a free account for your teams. So Miro is this beautiful little platform here that enables you to basically have a beautiful whiteboard, but that you can keep day after day. And there's a ton of little options you can see here on the left. Some of the very simple option is just to add some text. You can also here on the fourth option down, add some Post-its. You take the color that you want and you can add it to the communal mural. And you'll also find at the bottom on the right corner a way to zoom in and zoom out. And so for those who haven't used the platform, I'm going to share a link in the Zoom chat. And we're basically going to invite everyone onto this collective mural. And we're going to ask you just to play with it, to add Post-its, to add questions, to add whatever you feel like sharing with the group today. And so let me just find my chat. So here you go. So the link has been shared by me in the chat down in your corner. We invite you to hop in and just have some fun for a minute or so, exploring and using the platform if you've never used it before. And if you've used it before, well, great, do a lovely piece of art for the rest of the group.
Oh, wow. This is so cool.
So I'm seeing we're now at 51 people who trickled in. This is a great sign. Feel free to add post-its, to add messages, to add pretty much anything that you want. Have some fun, write out some words, whatever message you want to share with your peers. Love how we already have a question. What is project management? I'm glad you came to the workshop, even if you didn't know what it was about.
Oh, this is so cool.
All right, so we're going to leave you. So someone just trickled in. I'll share the link in the board, link on the side here to the Miro platform that we'll be using for this workshop. Miro is a great interactive online whiteboard. So I'm seeing a lot of actions. Feel free if you have any questions, you can voice them out or you can write them on the chat. And if you don't, we're going to move on to the next step and the next question that we have for you. Oh, I love Tapas mentions looks like organized chaos. And I meant to do a disclaimer. For those of you who are afraid or don't like chaos, Miro gets really chaotic. But the beauty about chaos is they say that the people that innovate the most are those who are able to flow in zones of absolute chaos and then flow in zone of absolute order and chaos and order. So it's part of the beauty of Miro. And Arkash asked if we need a professional certification to be considered for project management job. And I would say it depends. But in the next activity, we'll have some times to put your questions up and we'll have a time to share and exchange on those questions. So unfortunately, I am going to do what we call a little Miro cleanup. Not that I don't like all of your beautiful post-its, and I'm going to ask you to help me on this. And I will put on the grid a first little question. The question is, we want to know today, what are the things that you as project managers find challenging in terms of project management? All right, so the question is on the board. We ask all of you to place some post-its in the little box right beneath it on this given subject. What do you find challenging as a project manager? We see post-its of all size. There's still some Miro learning to be done.
Actually, I'm not sure how to post through Miro. Can you please show a bit how to post something through Miro?
Yeah, sure. I'll do a screen share. It might be the easiest way. And the Miro is getting quite hectic too with all of the guest collaborators. Give me 1 second. I just need to find the screen share option on Zoom. Oh boy, there's some big post-its here on Miro. Basically, I've done a screen share for those who want to follow. If you want to create a post-its, it's very simple. You go sticky note here and you choose the post-its of your choice. And then you'll probably want to zoom in. The zoom in options are on the bottom here, bottom left. And then you can type whatever question you have. And then you can move the Post-it, you can make it smaller or bigger, and we'll ask the whole 71 participants of us to coordinate so that we bring all of our Post-it within the small little grid that we had created here. Is that clearer, Feroz?
So also for those who created oversized stickies, you can make it a little bit smaller. Voila! Wonderful.
All right, so we'll give you a last minute. If you're having any issue with the platform, feel free. Meanwhile, we'll start reading out some of the things that we see. Delegation is a Post-it that's coming back on multiple times. Motivation, coordination. Obviously, with the situation right now, it seems that online recruitment is a challenge. So as people wrap up their thoughts, I'm going to unleash the second question on the second Post-it. This time, the question that we have for you is, what are all of the questions that you have in terms of project management? We had some that were shared in the chat. We're going to do our best to put a little bit of order in the chaos so that you can now place your questions in the second grid on the Miro. So the question is up. We'll give you about 3 minutes to ponder on this question.
What is the question?
The question is, what are your questions concerning Agile project management or project management as a whole?
Okay, and we just take a sticky tab and put it somewhere?
Yep, if you want to put it in the little grid that's getting a little chaotic, right around that orange question that says, what are your questions concerning Agile project management?
Or project management in general.
Oh, Clément, you should be sharing some music or something.
Oh, we talked about that.
Funny, that was our pre-workshop chat was, maybe we should have added some music.
No, every time we do a workshop, someone's always like, man, this is quiet. We should play elevator music or something. And there's always somebody before it's like, it's not going to be a problem.
My favorite band for those is Ratata, that some of you might know. It's great elevator music for brainstorming sessions.
I really like the Ratata when you played it at one of the last sessions I was at.
Yes, you remember. All right. So I'm going to ask a few people. We've got a lot of questions on board. I'd ask a few people maybe to step out and read out their questions or share their question with the group. Don't be shy.
Mine was how to lead and empower at the same time.
How to lead and empower. Great question. Other people want to share the questions that they're facing in terms of Agile project management or project management as a whole?
Well,
Sure.
I just, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm actually conversing with one of our old project managers from last year, and I just asked my partner if they were going to show up to this, and then they just sent me a message like, oh, sorry, I'm actually going to quit Enactus. So now I am doing a project all by myself. So tips for that.
Sorry to hear about that. Thanks for sharing with the group, Jesse. And know that all by myself can be temporary. So one of the things, if you feel that you need support in the work you're doing, is going to be to have a chat with your Enactus team and see how you can get other people on board. Other people want to share the questions that they face in terms of project management?
Sure. So my question was, what is servant leadership and how effective is it in project management?
What is servant leadership and how effective is it in project management? Great. Anyone in the group has an idea of or knows what servant leadership is?
Yeah, I think servant leaders actually they work for the good of the employee. They always try to work for the success of the employee. They want to teach them. They want to train them. They want to give them some opportunity to work from themselves. They are very much concerned about their success, their growth, their especially their growth, their promotion, salary, different type of benefit. So you just think about the employee and their growth as well.
Great point. Anyone would like to add on that? Servant leadership?
Yeah, I'd like to add on it. Hi, my name's Tapas. I'm from Enactus Windsor. My project focuses slightly on servant leadership itself with one of the programs we assist here at the city. And the entire idea of servant leadership is to lead by example and to lead to serve others. It's an entire idea constituting where you put customer service in the forefront rather than like you should have customer service as your leadership example instead of working towards the higher good or something like that.
Right. I couldn't have said it better than those two definitions. And I'd add that Angela in the chat is mentioning also leading by example, which is something that's also hand in hand with servant leadership. We'll ask maybe one last person who wants to share a question that they're facing.
I'm having trouble thinking of ways to get like good feedback on the project to make sure that we know like the actual results rather than just like our ideal results and what we think is going to happen with it. And like how to motivate students that are involved in the project to fill out feedback forms.
Feedback. Any tips or advice from the other project management on that?
Yeah, I actually have a tip there. We, in my project, actually have a pre and post survey. So we do a pre-survey for the people that we know are going to come to the presentation. And then we have like, it's very formal. It has our logo on it. Like it's all lined out and they just have to fill it out and send it back to us. And then during the presentation, we take all their emails and then we send them a survey and ask them about that too. And it's, you know, it's docs that we have in our files. And we do that for every presentation with every person that comes through the door, just so that we can keep track. We also ask them, like we take their emails so that we can have follow-up emails with them. So like, let's say we're doing, for my project, we're doing financial literacy. So we talk about scholarships, budgeting, how to get part-time jobs, interviews, stuff like that with students. So if we're going to do a scholarship presentation later this month. If we do that and we do the pre-survey and then we do the presentation and then we do the post-survey and then we take their emails down and then we email them. If we find out later that they ended up getting a scholarship, we write that off as part of our impact. If they want to come to us and say, hey, you know, I won a scholarship, I think it was because of you guys. Last year in our presentation, and because of our scholarship presentation, we actually had someone apply for a bunch of scholarships they didn't think they were going to get. They ended up getting a full ride to Queens. So, yeah.
Great. Thanks for the tip, Jesse. There's also Tapas in the chat who said, if you have the budget for it, can you add a monetary value on the feedback form? If you have any other ideas, feel free to share them in the chat. For sake of time, we're going to come back to a lot of these questions throughout the workshop, but I would like to share a last but very important question. which is how could you improve your project management skills? So it's in a sense, it's a metacognitive question, inviting you to take a step back. But we will invite you for a couple minutes to add as many Post-its in that box on how can you, as an individual, improve your project management skills. And I'm gonna attempt the total since it was, we'll try to put a little background music. Talk about how can you, as an individual, improve your
Raymond, do you want to bring the volume a little bit? Oh, okay.
I'd like to see everyone sharing on this question. Might be the toughest question we asked today. But how can you, as an individual, improve your project management skills? Great. So we're going to just take from input from a few people. I see this little Post-it, but this is a subject that comes on so often with project management. But I'd be curious who wrote the Post-it, improve my delegation skills. And if you want to maybe build on what you have in mind, or how does it apply to you?
All right, that was actually me. And I feel like so we have a fairly large team.
If not, I was curious maybe to ask the person who talked about Monday.com using task management software.
Claymon, the person started responding.
Mara?
The person started. The person started speaking.
I think it's just a connection issue. It's okay.
Oh.
We're just saying delegation is just a huge thing. Like start to do it, and then you kind of jump in, and it's just finding that right balance is kind of the biggest issue with it.
Okay. Okay.
Great.
So while we're waiting for Claymont to get there, are there any other people that want to talk about the delegation and what's that right balance for them look and feel like?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about delegation. Yeah, so our Enactus team specifically was part of a split. So we were partnered with another university, and then we had split with them right when COVID had hit. So it was right before that happened. And then delegation became a really big issue because our team was a lot smaller than we were used to. So I think one of the biggest things that we had to overcome with delegation and this new split was trying to find a new way to kind of run our projects, run our exec team, and kind of make sure everyone was staying in touch with each other. And how we kind of went about overcoming that was we implemented a project management software as well as a communication software, and kind of kept that separate so that we could focus on all of our day-to-day tasks on one software, which we use Notion. And then
Okay.
and then we were able to use communication on Microsoft Teams, which is what our school had switched to for online classes. So that way everyone sees everything when they go to their classes, it's on their calendars, and all the
Okay.
events are going
Okay.
to be on there as well. So it helps us with delegating to certain people because they see these events pop up on their school program as well.
Yeah, you bring a very important point. That is that if you want to have an effective delegation, the flow of information, if only you keep the information and information is not shared, it will not allow for proper. So transparency and the right flow of information is very, very important to the delegation. What else can support an effective delegation?
I guess I can touch on that quickly.
Yeah.
So a big thing that I've learned about delegation that like you might think that it's giving less work for you because like obviously you're delegating tasks, but you have to think of it in the mindset that like it's actually more work to delegate the things that you would usually do on your own. So you actually have to set up a time like to actually teach these like whoever you're delegating to like properly so the delegation is successful. So just think of it as like it's not like an easy way out. You actually have to like block in time to make time to delegate.
Beautiful. I love what you said because delegation is not abdication. Some people think that, oh, I give it, and no, delegation is also about learning and teaching and accompanying the person who is delegated. So you really have to care about their journey. What are they learning through this delegation? So yes, you would maybe do a little bit less, but you would do a different type of work supporting the person grow so that they can do the work.
Another subject that I see quite a little on the board is about feedback, enabling feedback from project managers, or I love the person who built on and said, what's the best way to get honest feedback and not just it's all great, which is common. So I'd be curious to hear a few folks on that. Have you done anything that worked with your respective project team? Or is this a communal challenge that many are facing?
I think that making feedback forms like anonymous is one way that's pretty effective at making people honest because they're not worried about offending anyone. But I definitely want more tips as well, if anyone has any.
Well, keeping the feedback forms shorter as well. Like it's nice to have nice long answers for certain things, but majority of the time I find that shorter questions kind of just make it easier for whoever's answering the survey, whether it be a student, club member, participant, business partner, whoever it is. If they're shorter questions, then they'll answer them more like thoroughly.
I can add on to that a little bit more. So with one of the sessions we run at City Thrive, the way we track participants and like if they show up or not is to actually use feedback forms as a way to track their participation. And it's crucial with the program that we run because they're actually paid on a weekly basis at that program. So they earn $40 a week, and if they don't fill out the form, it actually shrinks down to $25 a week. So that $15 incentive per week actually encourages our participants in that 2-hour program every Friday to go out there and fill out those forms.
Thank you, Tapas.
So we're hearing a lot of formal types of feedback. What about informal type of feedback? What informal types of feedback are you guys familiar with?
My preference actually for collecting feedback recently has been having like either over the phone or in person or like over Zoom conversations, but like guided. So talking like through either what they're working on, but also getting into more of the personal stuff, especially with what is going on in like the global climate right now. More than ever, I think feedback has a lot of things people are struggling with is like personal time management and like screen fatigue and lack of motivation because it's so isolating. And I think having those personal conversations makes you feel more connected and like at the same time motivates your team members. while you're like gathering, like seeing their expressions and knowing exactly how they're feeling when they're telling you.
Beautiful.
One thing that I'd like to touch on is like I feel like there's two types of feedback you can get, right? There's like the feedback from the people who would like attend events, and then the feedback from like other people on the team, right? So it's like I find like it's a lot easier to ask feedback from the people who attended the events and they're not a part of the team itself. But getting people on the team to say what they actually think is sometimes difficult. I don't know. Like you can say like if you like, for example, I find myself saying if anyone has anything to add, if we want to change some of the things that we've planted on, feel free. But it's like I feel like it's like it doesn't mean that people are now gonna like share what they actually think, right?
Okay. So what environment supports for people inside a team to be open and to share feedback honestly and transparently?
Well, using informal feedback to get that from your team, because with your team, you don't necessarily need to get survey results and our team said this. So I wasn't sure who said it, but I like having those just face-to-face, virtually be it right now, but those one-on-one discussions, or even if it's in a group setting with your team. One thing that we had success with our NATE club this past summer was actually using Mural, and we put every week or every second week for like general meetings per se, we'd have a different topic to kind of brainstorm, but it was mostly just gathering informal feedback about our team culture. What do you guys want to do this year? How are we recruiting? Like informal questions, but it was on that board. So it was a safe space for everybody to share. And now we've got this whole list of things. We don't know who it came from, but we got a list of things that our team wants on various subjects, whether that be the team culture, specific projects or things like that. So
you got it. You got it. Beautiful what you said. That safe space and creating that team culture that is courageous, that is bold, but also safe. So it's a psychological safety for people to be able to share their ideas and share their input. Beautiful, beautiful. Next subject.
Well, I think feedback and feedback loops are a little bit at the heart of Agile project management. And so I don't know, Mazdak, would you like to maybe just do a quick topo on the difference between maybe traditional project management and more Agile approach, which it's all about getting those feedback loops so you can learn, so you can grow, so you can adapt as you go.
Absolutely. Very, very quickly, I'm just going to share my screen here. So there are different types of approach to project management. There are some that we call the traditional project management, and there are some that we call agile project management. And in a traditional view of project management, as you say, also we call them waterfall. As you can see, it's like a waterfall coming down. It's like you divide the phases of the project into steps, and you only do one phase after the phase before it's completely done. It's a very good way of looking at project management if you have very clear defined scope and very clear requirements, and your requirements and your customer is not gonna change. And this way you can have a big planning right off the start, and then you put the timelines and you go and you do things in a sequence step by step, and fingers crossed, you hope that your scope and your requirements does not change. However, more and more, we are feeling that the scope changes, the requirements changes. Customers change their attitudes. Customers change their requirements. Sometimes you show something and say, oh, that's exactly what I want. So we have a more lean and agile type of approach to that is more iterative and more incremental, meaning that we do all the other stuff that we do in traditional, but we are doing it in small sprints or a small amount of time. So we look at the requirements, we do a design, we implement, we give it to the customer, we receive the feedback, and we restart again. And we do a few of these iterations before the project is completely done. So for this type of approach, we know what's the vision, we know where the direction is, but we are continuously learning, collecting feedback, and adjusting. And I'm gonna stop share here, but again, this is also a methodology, but it's a culture, it's a mindset. In order for an agile type of project be able to be successful, we need to take certain mindset, that growth mindset, that trial and error mindset, that customer centric, that we really care about the feedback of the customer. But more importantly, it's about the culture that we create for our team that is self-organizing, empowered. There's a lot of informal feedback is going. People are encouraged to make decisions. People are encouraged to actually try and fail and learn from their mistakes and adjust and become better.
Great, couldn't have said it better. Any questions before we move on this particular notion of agile project management, or maybe how it applies to your clubs? Shall we jump into the case study, Mazdak, then?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, like always, we want you to get your hands dirty and really actually do the steps of a typical project and project management. We're gonna take a case study. So understanding a lot of projects that you guys have, you would like to render your project visible on internet. You want the clients to be able to see who you are, see your what you stand for, and also to see your product. But at the same time, you want to use that platform in order to communicate with your team. So, and I understand that a lot of your projects, actually, you have already decided to create a website for your project. So why not take the website creation for your project as a case study and do the work interactively today. Just out of curiosity, how many of you guys have already built a website in the past?
Maybe if you want to type yes or no in the chat.
Yeah. Oh, okay, okay. Oh, wow,
Good.
okay.
So kick on, you're building one right now. Well, this workshop is going to be so good for you. And I hope that everyone that said yes earlier, you're going to be able to give a lot of tips and everything that you wish you would have done differently if you'd go back in the past. Cool. And so one of the first steps when we're managing a project is to try to have this big picture view of the project. Too often we see project managers all the time in our Enactus club that are kind of looking at their project, just looking at the next step, next step, next step. But they're missing out on so many other reflections or steps that would have been much more important in the present moment for them to move on and to carry out their project in a more efficient way, we could say. And so the first step we're going to do all together today is we are going to try to get a big picture view of what does it entail to build a website. And so it is going to be very simple. I'm going to do a little screen oh, Mazdak, you stole my screen share.
Okay, I'm going to stop it.
No worries. So I'm going to do a little screen share. You'll find if you go on the Miro, now that we've learned to manage our chaos and managed to get something quite orderly out of the initial brainstorm, if you zoom out and come down, we've created a second board on which we're going to hash out our case study on how to build a website. Basically, the first task is going to be very simple. We're going to do it all together, and then we're going to split you out in different breakout rooms to work on some of maybe the most challenging part of project management, and we're going to touch upon lots of the questions and worries that you've mentioned before. But the first step is going to be very simple. We're going to ask everyone to take the Post-its they want, and we'll just be mindful of the size of our Post-its this time, because there should be a lot of steps that are going to be handed out. And it's going to be very simple. On the Post-its, you're going to try to put what are all these subtasks that are related to building a website, and then we're going to work together to categorize those subtasks. So for instance, often you need to define your project submission in order to build a website. You need to prepare the home page. You need to prepare the team page and so on. And so we want to see here, what are all the tasks? And we're going to work 70 heads on this. So we're hoping that this is going to be the most detailed project management sheet around building a website that we've done before. Cool. Don't hesitate if you have questions to write them in the chat or just to ask them out loud. And there's no right or wrong answer, so feel free, anything that you think might be in your mind, feel free to add them to our board. And our goal is to get as much of a big picture view as possible. So we want as many ideas on there. And feel free if you see something that might be too general, or for instance, when we just say web developer, feel free to think, what are all the subtasks? Oh, I need to submit a first quote. I need to wait for the response. I need to consult my task. So my team on the quote that we were given. I need to fundraise the money and so on. So really try to get to all those subtasks so we can get a big picture view of what it entails to build a website. So a couple more minutes, all answers are good, feel free.
This is so fascinating.
It's the power of the collective. All right. So this is a good start. I think there's more things that will emerge as we walk through the different steps today. So at any time, feel free to add some post-its to our big picture task. And maybe just before we move on, I'll invite everyone to maybe take a step back and start reading out what are all the different things. And we're going to do this all together. It's going to be a little hectic, but it's going to lead to order. I'm going to invite you to just start regrouping the tasks. If there's two tasks that are the same, let's just start regrouping them and placing the post-its side by side. But more than anything, just take a step back so that you can get a big picture view on the different tasks that are there. And if you have any questions about some of the tasks, or if anything is unclear to you, feel free to ask it out to the group to help the group clarify. Great. So right now, with this first big picture view, some of you might be saying, do I want to build a website? It looks complicated. And so one of the important skills to have as a project management is having the ability to sort things out, to align what are your priorities, and to also, how would I say, categorize tasks. And so I'd be curious to ask the group, what are some of the ways through which we could categorize all these tasks? So what are categories that we could regroup the task? And maybe if you want to just put it in the chat here. So Savannah says planning. What are other ways we could categorize these tasks? A group for content creation, resources, based on the skills involved, testing or reviewing. Development, coding, technical creation, graphic design, content. What are other ways we could sort tasks? By R&D funding. We could also sort tasks through time, through competencies, by order of importance. And so what we're going to do next is we're going to send you in breakout rooms. You'll be three to four participants, and we will challenge you in your group to have a conversation to determine what would be the best way to sort our tasks if we were to lead this project and we were to build a website for all of our respective projects. And so you're going to be sent into breakout rooms. You'll have, let's say, 5 minutes to have a conversation. And when we come back, we're going to compare answers from different groups to see, is there something unanimous on which way should we categorize by competencies, by time, by task complexity, or any of the other methods that were offered in the chat. Any questions before we go? All right. Well, have a lovely exchange. You have 5 minutes. Feel free to get to know each other to sort out the tasks that we've generated together.
I could go first if that's okay.
Please.
Okay, so the one thing that we talked about was having a team. Or as a project leader, having a team, you want to have a kind of a more diverse team, people with different skill sets. So we were thinking about organizing tasks via the actual skill set. So, you know, if you're a marketer, you could do wireframing or content creation. If you're more of like an engineer, you could do the actual like programming or coding or stuff like that. So breaking up tasks into different skill sets, and then from, you know, once you've broken it down into different skill sets, you could even then break it down again into like time sensitive stuff. So you could have like layers of organization there for your team, because you wouldn't want to have a team of people with all the same skill set. That wouldn't work.
Great, thanks for sharing, Colin. Any other teams had the same or had a different approach to sorting out the tasks?
One of our approaches was actually figuring out a timeline. So you can't figure out what your website would look like without having a domain first and like actually purchasing the domain. You want to focus on having the planning aspect already finished before actually implementing your project.
Thanks, Alex.
Sorry. Adding on to what Alex said, what my team or what my breakout room mainly discussed is delegating the task to a web developer. They know what they're doing. So instead of, yourself being a business student or a science major and learning how to build a website, they will be way more efficient and will save you a lot of time when doing so. So the idea behind that is, like Alex said, plan out everything you need for your respective pages and then push your ideas forward to them and then have them do everything.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Great question. When do you do it yourself, and is it more efficient, and when do you have the budget to delegate? Because some teams, some project might be so bootstrapped that you just need to do it yourself. So it depends on the context.
Absolutely. Yeah. And adding to that also, you're in a way prioritizing certain tasks so that get the people involved so that actually they're doing something and they're creating something and they can maybe show something to the customers soon.
No, and that's Mazdak is kind of what our team we talked about was a mix of want to break it down obviously into tasks and deliverables, because Enactus friends business, right? We want to have key action items that we're going to follow, even if it's just building a website, and having the tasks broken down into what our expertise are on the team and who can handle what, so that way everybody is getting involved and doing something, and that way one person isn't like, I have no idea how to do the coding, but I can do the copywriting, so that I focus on that. And then combining the fact of like, who's good at what, who do we have on our team, and what's the timeline that we need, and putting those together is kind of the best way to do it, because we're students. It's like you said, we're bootstrapped. Sometimes we can't go out and find people to pay it all who know how to do it. So as students, we just have to find other students who are learning how to do what we need to get done, and that way we all get experience and get some kind of value out of it.
Thank you.
I think I can also add to that. We're actually running a project in my school here. So for the winter holiday, we are planning to raise a fund to hire some students for internship, students from computer science, to help us. Like we want to create a website, so we're hiring some students for internship to help us create a website. And also we are connecting to the computer science department so that we can get other students to join the group, maybe to learn how to code, or maybe to learn how to create a website. And I think that could also add more people into the team. That's it.
Great point. Yeah. Universities are full of students wanting to learn things and having to work on projects through class. So if you can build upon that, definitely great synergies to create. Mazdak, do you want to take us with the next step?
Sure, great. So after actually categorizing all of our tasks, we need to define the priorities and create a timeline. We have to know what tasks are more important to be done first and in what sequence they need to be done. So building on a lot of ideas that you guys brought, so the notion of time and timeline is very important, because we have some tasks that cannot be done until a task before that is done. So there is a dependency around that. So that's one way. The other one is the notion of importance. And I would like to also mention that one of the things that are very important, and we do with the agile mindset, is we want to get feedback really fast from our customers. So we really want to build something, even if it's a wireframe, if it's just a prototype, and get it out of the way. So it's also very important when we prior to the task, see what is it our customer can have in their hands, you say, right away. So those also become the tasks that we can prioritize. So I'm just wondering, just putting these priorities and putting that and create a timeline. I want to hear from you. What are your ideas, and what are some other ideas that you may be having?
I've got something I talked in my breakout group. I use workflow process diagrams through a Google Drive add-on, just to give a visual and also to keep track of like how much slack we have left in terms of an activity, and to visually see what activities can be completed at what time, because sometimes there's activities that don't necessarily ladder up into the next one. You need 2 or 3 before you can progress. And my team, we use kind of a color-coded one so that we can keep track of deadlines and where we're at.
Beautiful, beautiful.
And building on that, some people shared in the chat earlier, Tapas was mentioning Monday.com, which is another software that's great that can give you a big picture view of the task through time. There's also Planner that many of you have access through your university through Microsoft Teams. And there's also Sarah Moore that mentioned Gantt chart. There's many ways to do Gantt chart, but it initially was just a good old-fashioned way with Excel, but gives you the whole big picture view. And often it takes a time for you to find with your team what are the best platforms to use. And we'll be sharing some out and some other tips and tools at the end of the session too. Mazak, shall we apply the concepts to our Miro?
Absolutely.
So basically, if you head back to the second grid that we had on our Miro, we just placed the rough arrow to show time. And right now, it's going to be quite hectic, but I have faith in you all. We're going to try to sort out all of the tasks that we said more or less through time. And starting also, I think what we've heard a lot before were the teams who said we should categorize through the skill set or competencies. So maybe we can start also doing clusters or color codes around the competencies. So it's going to be a challenge. We won't take too long on this, but if everyone can chip in and try to move stuff around so that we have a general timeline and start having clusters of the task by categories. So everyone feel free to put your hands on deck on the Miro to help out sort this so that I think we should be able to do this in just a 3 or 4 minutes. Great. So we got a general flow. Still lots of little tasks that could be further sorted out, but I'll invite you maybe all to just take a step back from the sorting and just maybe start from the now and read through the big lines, the big headlines, planning, design, content, and so on, and just get ahead of what it looks like to build a website through times. If as you do so, you still see some things that should be moved around in your opinion, feel free to do so before we jump into the next step. Any comments or reaction as you see this? Great. Well, we'll launch you into a new breakout rooms, this time in a small group. We're going to invite you to do the next step. The greatest project managers have this ability to estimate the time that it takes to conduct different tasks. And so for the sake of the activity and for the sake of time, we've chosen 3 specific tasks that are linked to building a website, but that are really important, that were listed onto the Miro. And these tasks are to write the content. And we'll invite you in your subgroup to estimate how much time in minutes or in hours do you think it takes to write all the content for your website. We'll also ask you how much time does it take in order to receive some feedback from your customer. And lastly, how much time does it take to keep the website updated? So this is going to be for you to have a conversation on these 3 points, writing the content of your website, getting customer feedback, and keeping your website updated. You'll have 3 minutes with your subgroup. If you'd have to say more or less, how much time does each of these 3 tasks take? And we'll come back and we'll see if different groups come up to roughly the same amount or completely different amount of times. So I'm just going to recreate the breakout rooms and you'll get an invitation. You'll have, well, actually, we'll give you a good 4 minutes to come back to about the same or not. So I'm just writing the content, getting feedback from your customer, and keeping the website updated.
Yeah, I think it depends on the size of the content, because some contents is lots of information, so it may take more time. But generally, in general content writing, I think it doesn't take more than 8 to 10, maximum 8 hours. Within 8 hours, you can write down the contents. If you work with full attention, then I think 8 hours is okay to write the content. To get feedback, it also depends on the customer, how much they are responsive. So in that case, I think they generally take 1 to 2 days to feedback, give you the response, generally. And to update the website, just to update any information, update the content, I think it doesn't take much time. It is 1 to 2 hours job, maybe.
Great. So I think one of the key aspects that Feroz was sharing with us is that it depends, and I'm sure it came up in many of your discussion group, but I'd be curious, any other group had similar or different time spread for the 3 given tasks?
You said the update should be the quickest part, only taking a couple hours. And I know from experience this past first semester, trying to update our website has not taken only a couple hours. It's been a months and months process because we're trying to curate all the content and get all the right stuff to update. So I think for all of it, it really depends, and especially like in a time like now, like putting the content together, it depends on who's writing it, how busy we are, how much content there is, getting feedback. It depends on who's looking at it, how long it takes to get in contact with them, if they're too busy to get around to look at it, and then updating it. It depends on who's doing it, who's responsible to get the content to the person who's actually putting it on the website. So it all depends on what the website is and what kind of skill set you guys have and who you're dealing with.
Even to branch off on that point as well, as part of your development as well, are you actually instituting a trial? Do you have a trial period for your website to try to break things as much as possible and then come back and redevelop? Has that been integrated as well into your timeline before releasing it to the general public? So then when you're in that maintenance, you're not wasting as much time necessarily while it's live to go back down and retweak and what have you.
Great point, both Patrice and Trevor. And one of the things too is sometimes it's hard to predict. And so in my team, we always say, let's plan for the worst. So let's plan that it's going to take much longer so that we just get happy with our timeline. But yeah, there's a lot of factors that are gonna come in play. Last person wants to share their estimates on their side, or maybe how could any of you had ideas on how could you get some more accurate estimates?
Well, to get the most accurate estimate, you'd want to talk to the person who's actually going to be completing the task. So if it's on your team, sitting down and talking with whoever you're delegating to like how long they think, or if you're working with a web developer, obviously you'll have a more professional and accurate estimate.
Absolutely.
And one thing too is often within our Enactus project, we have some projects talking to other projects to learn how much time does a given thing take. And so it's a great habit to take, is to have a network of collaborators around whom you can learn and share from. Mazdak, want to take it away?
Sure. Let's take it out. Beautiful. So there is a lot of information there. There's a lot of tasks. There's a lot of prioritization stuff. So the inquiry for you is, how are you putting all of this into a master plan? So we have some notions of time, we have some notions of skill set, we have notions of resources, we have notions of some of the stuff the customer needs to see right away. Planning is easy, of course.
Implementation is hard.
So what supports you in putting everything in a master plan and planning for this?
Like why put together a master plan?
Sorry, repeat that?
You're asking like why we would put together a master plan, like how would...
No, it's more like how can you put it in a plan so that's visible and visual for everybody, that we know that what are the sequences, what are the importances, what are the priorities. Yeah.
Well, I think very similar to what we did today is just putting a document together that everybody who is working on the project has access to, whether they're at that brainstorming meeting or not, dumping everything on there and then organizing it how you guys want, whether that be in a timeline, whether that be by expertise, whatever it is that we kind of talked about today. And then after it's all in the document is just making sure that it's start to finish. Here's what it looks like. Did we miss anything?
Yeah, absolutely.
We have Savannah in the chat saying workflow process diagrams. Savannah,
yes.
Do you just want to explain what those are to the group?
Sure. So workflow process diagrams uses shapes and arrows of different like types to denote different activities and different tasks. So basically it's just like a big diagram, and within each shape will be written what that specific task is. There will be identified like failure points, decision points, criterion for things to go forward. So basically your workflow process diagram can be as complex or as simple as you wish it to be. I've had workflow process diagrams that have stretched 2-3 pages. I've had one that barely took up half a page. They're fantastic for just kind of seeing what needs to come next. So yeah.
And for team empowerment, so everyone can get the big picture view, not just you as a project management. And to build on that, I might ask Mara from Enactus Canada, you talked about, you shared making a work back plan. Do you want to explain what that is for those who might not be familiar with the term?
Yeah, pretty much a work back plan is a large Excel file that you make, or you could use a different platform to make it, where it says the tasks that you have to complete to do whatever your goal is. So in this case, creating a website, what the status of each of those tasks are. So whether it's waiting for the task before it to happen, it's completed, it's in progress, who's responsible for it, and what the allocated time it would take to do that task would be. And that way it holds everyone responsible for completing that task, and everyone else can see who's responsible for what, when they're going to have it done, and the big picture of what needs to get done.
Wonderful. Ida is mentioning Trello is very helpful. Would you like to let us know what's all about Trello?
Yeah, sure. So just like the software that Mara was talking about, Trello does pretty much the same thing. It's just like more of the same, different software. It's like you can make a task. It's like a card, and then you can say what the task is, and you can assign it to different people, or people can assign it to people that they need help with to do the task. And you can put a due date. You can like color code it to see which tasks are for what. Like this is a social media task, like website development task. Unfortunately, I don't think it has a way to estimate how long the task will take. But it has like a checklist. It's like for each task, you can have a checklist within the task to see the things you need to do for that task, so the overall task is complete. Our team at Enactus St. Mary's uses that. And so that's helpful.
Beautiful. I use Trello myself, and I had some clients that are using that actually. Sorry, go ahead, Clément.
Well, I was just going to say, if other people have a favorite task, there was Monday that was mentioned before, now Trello. If you have another favorite platform, feel free to share it with it in the chat for the rest of the group. And
Basecamp coming.
Great. And so I was heading back, so we have about 25 minutes left, and I was heading back at the questions that we generated at the start. I see that most of the questions have been covered or somewhat covered. There's a few questions left open, and there were a lot of questions about motivation. And so I'd be curious to ask you, following this workshop, how do you see that project management can be a tool that helps you with your team motivation? Anyone wants to take a dab at it? How can good project management help you with team motivation?
I feel like good project management should create team buy-in. So making people responsible for their tasks and really including them in the planning and the development, and making everybody, like setting a vision, making everybody realize what the end goal is here.
Great. And helping them realize the vision. And this is one of the most common mistake I see with some young project managers, is that they do the planning work of looking at all the tasks, and then they tell their team to execute the task. And when you do that, there's less empowerment than when you have a conversation with the team to ask them to generate those tasks, and then they'll feel much more empowered. What else do you do to increase motivation through good project management?
Like especially right now, like we're all at home from our own laptop on this meeting. And so just having some space during your meetings to just check in with everybody and have that socialization, because this usually will be going on to class and bumping into each other. And so having that space within your project meetings to just be friends. We're not just here just to work, right? So I think that could create more motivation towards the project. If you're not showing up every single week for an hour, talking just business, here's your task, we'll see you next week. Like having that personal relationship with your team.
Great.
That creates trust, and people are seen. And when people are seen, they're way more ready to have their skin in the game.
Any other tips and tricks on that?
I think it's very much important to set the expectation from your teammate. So what you're expecting from your teammate, you should clearly describe the task. You should make him understand. So he needs what you are expecting, and based on your expectation, you can just ask him what about your response, what about your feedback. So this is very important to setting the expectation from your teammate, and then get the return based on your expectations. So is the expectation, then you just appreciate him, give him feedback, good feedback, then definitely he will be motivated.
Yeah.
Expectations and defining roles properly.
Yes.
Point.
Yeah.
In terms of expectation or the amount of work you expect people to do, that is one of the keys to good project management. It's about making sure that everyone on your project team has just enough work to do in the following week. Because if you give them too much, they might have an overlight, they'll be deer in headlight, and they won't be able to go forward, and they won't do anything at all. But I've often seen a project problem with Enactus teams where they don't give enough work to do to their folks, and so they lose the motivation.
Well, people support what they create. You know, that's also, there's this purpose-driven mindset. You know, you can communicate the task just as a task, but also you can say the why of the task and how does this task contribute to the final impact. That helps as well.
And I'd be curious, I'm sure there's still some other questions that remain unanswered. So I think we can use another 10-minute or so of debrief. I'd be curious, are there some things that are still mystery to you? Or are there some things that you would like us to discuss as a group? So any remaining questions, in other words?
I know a lot of teams are struggling with this, and we kind of touched on it earlier. But just recruitment-wise, I was just curious, either from the Enactus Canada team, or I'd invite anyone else here because this is a project manager training. What are some things you guys have been doing where you've seen success with recruitment in this virtual world? Or maybe what are some things that you tried where you'd caution others not to try and just kind of avoid that? You know, for ourselves personally, it's been lots of social media, and it's been putting the onus on our team to reach out and recruit for us, because it's more having that personal connection. You can't meet them in person, so you got to reach out to people individually. But aside from that, we're racking our heads trying to figure out a way to get new members on board to actually have teams for the projects.
Any ideas on that question?
Yeah.
For my team, we're fairly new and still pretty small, but we found that faculty buy-in really helps. So approaching faculty and asking them if they would pitch Enactus to their class, or maybe post a link to our social medias on their Blackboard. I know for my team, I recorded a video just talking about what Enactus is, what Red Deer College specifically is doing, and sent it out to all the business instructors to post on their Blackboard as an announcement.
Great ideas. Any
Yeah.
other ideas or things that's been tested in other Enactus clubs?
One idea that we had that we haven't like put into practice yet, but we were thinking about kind of combining like a fundraiser with a recruitment event. And we were gonna book like the campus bar and then do a Dragon's Den theme so that people would get involved and it would be like a competition kind of thing. And then they could get more involved in Enactus, and if they wanted to develop their ideas, they could partner with us. But because of the COVID, like we haven't really been able to do a bar event, but it would be a good idea in the future.
Mm-hmm. Great. I just want to acknowledge we had Ida in the chat who asked Patris to expand on what do you mean, Patris, when you say be a solution finder and not a problem solver?
Yeah, I got that. I steal a lot of the things that I say because I've been at home a lot, so I've been reading a lot of books to pass the time instead of staring at TV or computers all day. That's just that's just a mentality, mindset kind of thing, mostly when obviously everybody faces problems. We're humans. We face personal problems. We face problems with our projects, our teams, our place of work, student groups, whatever. We always face problems. And a lot of times I'll hear people say, oh yeah, be a problem solver, which is good because you're solving the problem, but it's just that small change in the language where you're focusing on the problem to solve, whereas instead if there's a problem, yes, that's what we're trying to solve, but instead of focusing on the problem, you're focusing on solutions and you be a solution finder. Just that slight change in language can maybe give you a different way of thinking about it, bring up some other kind of ideas, and now you're focusing more on the solutions and less on the fact that there's a problem that we have to solve.
That sounds really helpful, and I really want to learn how to do that. I also see that like the problem solver is like the most important skill to have, sort of thing. But it's like I like, for example, if I assign a delegated a task to another team member, and then it's like they encounter a problem, right? They're like it doesn't work here, or it's like the software isn't working, right? Or how do I like that change in the language? I recognize what you're saying, but it's like I don't know how, right?
Interesting idea, but putting it into practice, right?
Yeah.
And one of my tips is it's not only a change in language, it's a change in the mindset. And when I engage and have a conversation with the person I've delegated that task to, I'm not going to come in with an approach of, okay, let's find a problem or let's find a solution. I'll approach it in a mindset of how can I help this person generate an answer themselves to the situation they're facing. And so instead of coming in with, okay, we're going to solve this together, I'm going to come in with a few questions. What's the problem you are facing? Tell me a little more about it. What are the root cause of that problem? And then often, just from a few questions, it will end up that the person you've delegated the task to, more often than not, will be able to generate a solution that's probably better fit than you as an outsider on the given problem.
Yeah, that's powerful.
So when you get wrapped up in the problem or the fact that, like, as project managers, right, you're trying to help your team who's got problems, you're trying to help put solutions out there. But if you come into the meeting right away like, here's the problem, we can find a solution to this problem, instead you just come in approaching it with that mindset that Clément said, and it's more so just, hey, what's going on, like fact finding and just asking the right questions. And then usually through that question and answer process, without even focusing really on what the problem is, the solution will be found that way. And so that's why, like, being the solution finder is just not what's the problem, what can we do? It's, hey, what's actually going on? Maybe there's a solution that's going to come out of that answer, right?
Great point.
Sure. Beautiful. Just want to mention that Joanne mentioned that always share the why and of your cause. That gets a lot of people enrolled in your vision when you talk about the why rather than the what and the how of your project. Okay, so another question for you. So what are some of the mindsets and attributes to make you a great project manager. Mindset, attributes.
And how about we ask everyone to share a couple of the mindset and attributes in the chat to generate a more exhaustive list, and a few people can also share out loud.
Can do, yes. Passionate.
Servant leadership. Trevor, do you want to speak out loud your point? I think it's an interesting nuance.
Lead by example, absolutely. Open-mindedness, yeah. Yeah, communication. Yeah. Celebrating successes as well as the failures. I love that. Yeah, yeah. Conflict resolution, yeah, goal-oriented, yeah. Oriented, yeah. Sure, yeah. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Let me share some of these mindsets. Most of them you have already shared with us. So one of the biggest mindsets, again, that growth mindset, that mindset that we're always learning, that mindset that everybody is always learning. Also taking always the human as a center of everything we do, whether they are our customers, empathizing with our customers, finding out what is it they need, what is it they're paying, and also for our team, you know, create this human-centric and empowered team, get people involved, get people motivated, get people engaged, have this culture of democratization that people can share their ideas in honesty and in transparency. Very important. Welcome change. Change is a constant of our time, and let's accompany our team, accompany our customers through the times of change, and take this attitude of resilience that we can always try, we can always learn, and we can learn from our errors, from our mistakes, and we can iterate, and we can learn from that, and we can always adjust from that.
Great.
Anything on this slide you guys want to talk about? Okay, sure. So let's share a little bit of resources with you that can help you. When we were talking about that, we were saying, okay, what is like the essential 2 books that we want to share? And Clement had a favorite and I had a favorite, so we finally put both of them there. For the book, The Lean Startup is a very amazing book. It's a book about how to create these entrepreneur mindset with lean and agile type of mindsets that are there. It's a Bible of entrepreneurship, and it brings a lot of ideas from lean manufacturing, from agile. So it's a very good for me. Clement, do you want to talk a little bit about the sprint design book?
In the sprint design book, it's for those students who want to improve, but on a very practical sense. What's fun about this book is you might not use it from A to Z, but it contains a ton of practical tools and tricks that you can apply during your meetings with your team in terms of leading your project in an agile manner. And so a lot of the students I've recommended it to ended up using many of the tricks, and so that's the one that I would love to recommend to you. And we've also placed a few other resources there that we invite you to explore on the Scrum Alliance. There's other project management training that are offered online, notably on LinkedIn Learning. And also, Mazak, you want to talk about Medium?
Sure, Medium has become these days the place for blogs, for going and finding the really hot and cool and trendy blogs. So you just have to probably create a quick account for yourself. But once you've done that, do a search on agility or agile or lean, and there will be tons of cool, trendy, and up-to-date blogs that will come up for those of you who are interested in blogs.
And Enactus Canada will share with you these resources and slides. So if you didn't note them down, don't worry, they're going to come after. And just there's 5 minutes left to wrap up this session. Just to do a little different, what we were hoping to do today was to send you in a last little breakout room with one or two buddies, and you'd have the final 3 minutes to maybe talk about what you're taking away from this session. But I'm also going to invite you maybe to set what are your learning goals around project management beyond this session. What are the things you want to try? What are the things you want to get better with? And so on. And so I've assigned some rooms. I'm going to invite you for a final 3 minutes to have a chat on what you're taking away from this session, but also what are you hoping to learn beyond this session. To all of you for taking your time today to join us, but also a huge thanks to MASDAT for all the expertise and the time and effort that went into planning this workshop. And also a huge thanks to Catherine and the Enactus teams and the different project managers that are here. They are the ones that make these Pan-Canadian events happen. And so on that, I'll pass it on maybe to Catherine. Do you want to introduce, just leave people off on the buddy sign up for those who want to keep meeting other project managers from across the country?
Yes, so if any of you have been to our collaboration summit or leadership summit, we have this link I shared in the chat. If you want to keep talking with someone about project management going forward into the semester, feel free to put your name on this link and I'll connect you in the next week or so to other people. But just a huge thank you to Claymont and MASDAC. I think this training was really helpful for so many people and it set us up for success this year. I'm going to send this recording to everyone once it's up on YouTube, as well as we always are looking for feedback so that we can make our trainings like this better in the future. So I'm sharing another link in the chat, but it will also be in an email about a survey. And it's 2 questions long and should take you less than a minute to complete, but any feedback you can give us is always really helpful. So thank you so much to Claymont and MASDAC and all of you, and I hope you have a really great day.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much, Claymont, and thank you so much, Catherine, for your support. And go get them.
Good luck with your project. Keep it up. The world needs more people like all of you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.